All right, we're live now. Greetings, viewers. Those interested in the continuing committee, welcome to the November 2023 board meeting. So we are streaming live today. Discord is telling me that the stream is going there, so I'm going to go post that a couple of different places. All right, so
someone just notified me that YouTube is live.
Oh, good. Good.
Sorry, Chris, I haven't been in your mouth today.
Yeah, I've been pressing the big red button a lot lately from streaming games, since this week was the last week for both of the Masters of the Universe rounds. And actually, I've streamed my first round game with Chris Jansa for 2 weeks, so I need to remember to make that public so people can see all the bad things we did to each other in that round. Let's.
Maggie, hey Maggie, before we get to introductions, I wanted to start because today is a special day. It is November 11th, and everyone, after you're done watching this meeting, if you know a veteran, thank a veteran or give somebody a call or remember their sacrifices for this country. It is Veterans Day, and it is the time to honor our servicemen and women.
Indeed, thank you for the reminder, Justin. I had that on that, so so I know we have one vet here on the call, so thank you for your service, sir. So yeah, we are so it is our Remembrance Day, Veterans Day, Armistice Day, all of those important things. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started working through the agenda. So first thing on the agenda is just to approve the meeting minutes from the September meeting. So did anyone have any notes or things that they wanted to change for those September meeting minutes?
No, I thought they looked fine. I move to approve.
Second.
All right. Any opposed?
I'll say that I'm abstaining because I wasn't at the meeting, so.
Reasonable. So, all right, good. So minutes are approved. Thank you as always, Justin, for taking the minutes and posting them in a timely manner. Department reports are next. So first off is me as EXO. So, but basically most of the stuff that I should be doing is in some of our old business, new business things, but just stuff I have been working on personally, just ticking away at promos as I almost always am. I guess it's more of an ops thing than a executive officer thing. Other things in my realm, the period of review is coming up, and trying to work on the 5-year plan. So I'll tell you where I'm at with that a little later. New player initiatives have not done anything on that front. Been again working on, I guess since the last meeting, been to Worlds. That was fantastic. It was a wonderful trip out to England. Patty was a great host. He ran things really, really well. Awesome venue, awesome players. It was just a really fun weekend for all around, and I really enjoyed attending Worlds. And I want to give especially big thanks to Brian Schaefline here for running the stream for Worlds. So that was that setup was incredible, and it was really great that we were able to stream so many matches over the course of the weekend.
So now we just need to pay for Brian to go to every major event forever? Is that what you're saying?
I second that. That's fine. He can be our roadie. That's fine.
It all fits in one Pelican case, so if that's...
That's really important. That is really important. My husband is the sound guy, so I I know what it looks like to try to bring sound equipment to like a wedding or something or any kind of event. So the fact that you've got that whole streaming kit down to one Pelican case is pretty awesome.
Well, and kidding aside, like it really helps the community feel like they were a part of it, even if they weren't there. I know that I was actually on vacation, but I pulled up in the mountains in northern Minnesota. I pulled up the final match between Neil and Peter, and I was like texting Neil through Facebook and stuff. So I mean, obviously, I was way far away from the action, but he really appreciated hearing the shout outs and stuff. And for design purposes, rules, balance, everybody, you can go and then look at all of these matches and go, wait a minute, that interaction probably shouldn't be legal, but obviously the players are going to take advantage of everything they can find. So for both 1E and 2E, I just think that it's really critical, and I don't think that we can possibly thank you enough for doing all that work.
You're welcome.
Well, it's just been one of those things that's been talked about for going on 10 years now, and to finally get a setup that works. And the only real downside was you had to stream it on your channel and we couldn't stream it on our channel. So we need to
eventually I'll get all the videos onto the main channel. It's just a lot of hours of stuff. So
I get it. So.
Yeah, if I recall correctly, for YouTube, you can download the videos and then you have to re-upload them to the CC's channel, which is
I have the raw recordings.
Again,
so like I have all of that available separate from YouTube, but like there are vast stretches of time where there's nothing happening because I was off playing a game and the main game was done or something, so I want to cut it all and then get it on the main channel.
Yeah.
Reasonable. All right, so that's what I've been working on, playing lots, still running Return to Farpoint. And one of my chair duties I need to do now, because I think all of so both of the online chairs challenge tournaments are done, is I do need to remind myself to PM Marcus and ask him to do the polls for the chairs challenge so we can send those world's prizes out to our winners for the online chair for the chairs challenge. So that's on my to-do list, should go on to my to-do list, because I keep forgetting that is a thing that I need to do. All right, so next report, let's go on to any questions for me from anybody? All right, let's go on to the first edition report with Charlie.
Well, congratulations to Peter, who won Worlds with a deck using some cards from one of the newest sets. That was good to see, and not in a broken way, because traditionally when cards from a new set show up, it's because somebody found something that playtesters missed and they broke everything. This was not that, so that was good. We have been, for the last month, really digging into the results from Worlds. Those streams, as mentioned, are invaluable because we can literally go look and watch specific plays. We've been doing data analysis, like we have a whole report about turns and turn times we've been looking at. And you guys, the players, have been having similar conversations that we are also reading and participating in, because we're trying to get a sense of where the game actually is health-wise, and if we need to do some hard nudges in some places or some subtle nudges in other places. You can expect to get a survey coming out soon-ish, asking you on a couple of different things what you think, and we want to spread that as far and wide as we can, because we're aware that the caliber and level of play at the World Championship is much different than the caliber and level of play at any other tournament. But we want to have a diverse array of opinions. And that all of that work, and the way we're doing it now is, I'm hoping a template for how we can do the same thing year after year post World, like have a dedicated space to sit and identify some issues and talk through them. We're talking through 10 different things that we identified, not to do anything, but just to sort of chat. Is this actually something we need to deal with? And then how would we deal with it if we choose to deal with it? Some stuff is going to be how we change design. Like we're not going to make as many just for example, we're not going to make any as many cards that let you download a ship, other things are going to be, through rules or through balance, or other things are just going to be, we're going to keep an eye on this and not worry about it. So we're not, I've had a couple people message me and say, why hasn't there been errata after Worlds? You guys always do errata after Worlds. And I'm like, well, we're taking our time, which I think is a luxury because largely 1E is in a good place. There are problems, but we have the time to be careful and cautious and more deliberate because there aren't any like world-ending threats. Maybe the ultimate user computer crash, but that's on the radar to already be fixed, and hopefully will get fixed in December. So because we think that sucks. Anyway, we have dual decks, 4 lights, coming out at the end of the month in early December, and along with it is a something we haven't done in a while, which is a supplemental set, which is high-res reprints of the cards that didn't have them that we used in the dual decks. So you'll be able to have nice, pretty high-res versions of everything. We are not, just going to let everybody know now, we are not making PDFs of the 2 decks. There's a lot of reasons behind that. Part of it is I've been told that the ops team hates PDFs and doesn't want to use them as much as we can. The other part of it is the problem with making a PDF of a set or PDF of a deck is that as soon as something has to change, that PDF is inaccurate. Now we're going to give you a PDF of all the new cards. That's never going to change, I don't think. But rather than say, here's the Cardassian deck and here's the Federation deck, and then in 6 months we have to change something, those are inaccurate. We're not doing, so we're just going to have links to the decks in our deck builder system. So you'll be able to just copy them, modify them, and go. Just so you have an idea what's coming. As a side note, I want to give a huge shout out to Daniel, because Daniel and I had a conversation a while ago about he and the communications department taking control of doing all the public communication on 1E. So like, I'm still going to write the introduction articles, but Daniel is taking control of what you see and when you see it, and helping us push 1E and our 1E communication into the future. So big shout out to Daniel. I appreciate his efforts. Plus it's one thing I don't have to do, which is great. We are actively and aggressively play testing Project Viking, which is our Vidian booster shot. On Guard was started in like 2019 and is finally coming out. That's the dual decks. And then Project Viking was started in 2020 during the pandemic, and is now pushing towards a release. I will explain more about why it's next as we get closer to it coming out. But we have a bunch of playtest card titles in there that are all like pandemic references, which is just kind of funny. Anti-social distancing is one. There's just a whole bunch of weird. It's a weird time in our lives. We are also dabbling in starting playtesting in Project Mandalorian, which is the alternate universe sequel. And there is a lot of design work going on. We are working on no less than 6 different release related projects for the 30th anniversary, because we have a ticking clock on those. We have the March Madness expansions from this past year that are in the progress. We have as a side note, we are behind on those, but probably before the end of the year we're going to put out at least 3 cards that we've promised and are overdue, and the other ones are chasing right behind it. So the Will of the Collective from 2020, the Klingon Q's Tent card is going to be coming out soon, and March Madness winner, the Fast Spinny Planet will also be coming out soon. And we have so much that's going on. I'm going to be bringing in some new volunteers soon, so stay tuned for the front page and our Facebook and all that. But in terms of what we're actively working on right now, we have Dual Decks coming out. We have Vidians coming soon. We have Alternate Universe coming after that, and then the 30th anniversary starting about a year from now. So it's going to be a really busy time for Winnie, and we're really grateful for all of you still playing and talking about the game. So thank you. Oh, sorry, one more thing. Tribbles. We have an expansion that I think is pretty close to ready, but I'd really love to get another cycle of playtest feedback on it. And I know I've said this before, but if you have a group that plays Tribbles and you're willing to take a look at the new cards and try them out a little bit and give us some feedback, that would be awesome, because I would really love to get those cards out to you. I think they're really good, but I just want to be thorough before we release them. And that's truly it, unless you have questions.
Just a comment from me that the line scheduled Tribbles playtest game has also been on my to-do list for like the last 6 months. So I know there's other people who have gotten their eyes on the set. So it's not all us, but yeah, it's I think you're right that it's really close. Should we there's a couple of new powers people will hopefully
there's only a couple reprint powers in it, not reprints, existing powers, but all the new ones are pretty straightforward and really designed to sort of nudge the game away from bonus points and back to going out. And for the most part, they do that. We've shaken out most of the kinks. It's just I want another set of eyes on it, another cycle to make sure we didn't miss anything. I shouldn't say make sure, to minimize the chances that we missed something. And then we can bring you some new Tribbles that are, I think, pretty fun.
Would you want to post the set to the One-E playtest board just so because
I've asked before, and there's not, most of our One-E playtesters are not Tribble players.
Oh, okay, then that's fine.
And if they were, they barely have time to test One-E right now, so I don't want to pull them off to something else. So,
indeed, all right, reasonable, very reasonable. I've been meaning to take a deep dive into Viking. I feel like my whole weekend is going to be Vidians in terms of Trek stuff, for reasons that Tiak will tell us about momentarily. So, anything else for Charlie? All right, then, Chuck, you're up next for.
Yeah. So
your
first, I will first thank for Worlds as well as Maggie did. It was a great tournament, very very interesting. Good location. The only thing that sucks, they're all driving on the wrong side of the road. That was very very fascinating. But okay, it was a great show. And
I had to tell myself, look right first when crossing the street. Like every time I had to tell myself, look right first before crossing the street.
Every time I crossed the street, I looked 4 times.
Yeah,
I can remember my wife saying, "Oh, you're driving too left, too right." Yeah, so it it was not going, but driving was. They English drive very defensive, but it was nice. Yeah, it was a great show. And maybe next time, if there's a next time, I try X throwing. Yeah. So, yeah. What's new on the Twee side? We finished Project Sanctuary, that are promo cards for next year. As far as I know, they are in production. So next year's promos. Then we have Shackleton. It's still in play. It's still in play testing. There will be a new version be hosted next week, and I hope we can release a set January, first cards January next year, maybe February. I think earlier is better. we cut a lot of cards and sharpened something. So I think the new version coming up is in a better condition than the last playtest version. Then we started with the first version of the Weedians, going to playtesting last week. So I expect a little bit longer playtesting, but Lucas hosted some test decks. I had no time to look into the detail of the set, but I read the first feedback from playtesters, and maybe I get a chance to playtest the Weedian deck next week. So the Weedians are going to playtesting. They will definitely not being the second set to come. The first one is Shackleton, and then we have Project Hamlet about paranoia cards that will go to testing when Shackleton has finished and goes to production. So we have Weedians and Hamlet together in playtesting. At the moment, I cannot change that. We will have 2 sets in playtesting at the same time. Maybe the Weedians going through playtesting faster and coming as one of the next sets, but I expect the Weedians coming out second quarter of 2024. I hope so. And we started with some other project that I already have cards in and just waiting for the time spot to go to playtesting. And beginning of next year, we are going to start with the Cindy. The Cindy will be the next new affiliation. So I try, if we have good ideas, I try to make a new affiliation in 2024 the Weedians, and in 2025 the Cindy. And if we have a good idea, then there will be a third new affiliation in 2026. We are going to start with the Cindy in 2024. I think Richard already is talking about the team. He has collected ideas, and some of these ideas are very interesting, and I hope we can work with that. Yeah, that was. Oh no, and the last thing is there will be coming up a couple of errata within the next 1 to 3 months. These are mostly errata about missions. We start with the first set of TUI, bringing all the missions to the new titles, top side title, because we have now in the new set we have missions that already existed. So I started to erase all the cards from second edition first set with new title, subtitle, and at the same time the balance team is looking at the errata, whether a mission has to change just title and subtitle, or can be a little bit sharpened, a little bit too weak, a little bit too strong, and change that at the same time. That will be a kind of mass errata, but we had to do some of those anyway, and we start with the first set of tweets, so everybody knows we are changing the missions to title, subtitle. That's all from my side.
All right. Any questions for Tjaak?
I just want to give a shout out to whoever is picking your project names, because Hamlet for a paranoia theme set is genius. So.
If I recall correctly, and I don't know, Chuck can, they're trying to find an identity for the current cards that have a TOS and an Earth icon on it. So
yeah, but I have no idea who chose a project name. Yeah.
But yeah, Project Hamlet I think seems pretty appropriate for that particular project, if that's the one that I'm remembering. So probably Richard would be my guess on that one.
I suppose, because we have that in the pipe for a longer time.
All right, so then next up is communications. So Daniel.
Okay, Can you hear me okay? Okay. So we have, well, as usual, I have hands in kind of bleeding into a bunch of different other departments with my work, but the biggest thing going on right this moment is Dual Decks 4 Lights, which we're which is releasing soon for first edition, as Charlie already mentioned. Uh, Basically, yeah, we're trying something new with first edition releases where I just wait for him to give me the cards and give me the dates, and I'm working out the schedule and trying some new things with it. So this is very close to release, and I've got a schedule planned out, and we just offered it to the writers last night, so we're going to be making some tweaks over the next few days here and trying to finalize the release schedule. Personally, very excited about Four Lights. I have talked to Charlie about that because we almost had dual decks uh, as sort of an adjunct to Nemesis. I had them in testing and they just didn't they just didn't make it all the way through. But that's always something we could come back to, and like I'd like to see more of those over time. Um, so yeah, excited for that set to come out, and going to be pretty busy with planning that for the next couple weeks. Um, I have hired somebody. We've filled the writing manager position. I don't have an article for that just yet. They are not starting until December due to prior commitments. But I'm excited to finally take some work off my plate on that, so I can focus a little more on the department as a whole. Um, and let's see. Organize just yeah. I be beyond that. Just working in other departments. I'm on a couple of 1E design teams myself that are just getting started. Uh, Trying to dip back into organized play some. I've been working on getting a master's back into Florida, but trying to get some of my locals on board as to when that's going to be. So we haven't announced anything yet. And thinking about maybe running online events again. If I can, uh, if there's room in there among all the far points and the Taloses and whatever else is going on. So yeah, I think that about covers it for now. I think like I said, I'll have an announcement article soon regarding the writing manager position, but also am uh, pretty busy working on the dual deck schedule. And beyond that, if you if anyone listening is interested in joining the writing team in general, let me know. We are always looking. So yeah, I think that about covers it.
Daniel, I hope you start running tournaments again. There's nothing more fun, and Maggie can attest to this, than getting our ID draft packs at like 12:30, and then we both wake up and then we go draft, and then we're like, I should probably be sleeping before work. No, I want to draft. I don't care.
I don't know. I always get excited to put together weird mad scientist pools and see what people do with them.
Well, that's what she's doing. I don't know. I don't want to steal Maggie's thunder, but how the hell did you come up with that group of affiliations?
Oh, for me?
Yeah.
For the IDIC draft?
Yeah.
I was looking, I made one of those spinners that's what should I play next, like Alan has, but I made one for Tui. And then it gave me weird combos, and I'm like, I'm not going to use any of that. So then I just looked at the Strange Bedfellows and Uneasy Alliances
okay.
achievements. And I'm like, okay, let's put some pairs together from that.
I have the most messed up HQs in my team, Dan. It's Dominion and Ferengi with Maquis and Deep Space Nine. I was like, what? Like,
Yeah.
What missions are they going to do? Do I want to drag Ferengi along and do strength missions? Not really. It's weird, but it's fun.
Yeah. So now we know that maybe not so much on that. I will be sent another thing on the to-do list for today is send the second round of packs. I think everybody should be done by now with the
Yeah,
first
we're
round
done.
of.
I don't know if you
Okay.
guys are even
Yeah.
done with missions. I don't know where you guys are at, but we're
Oh
done.
yeah, we're done with missions, and I should be receiving one last pack at some point in time. Anyway, so but to get out of the IDIC draft stuff, Daniel, I was not going to run Farpoint again next year. So if you have something, and I'm betting Brian Sykes is not going to run Talos 4 again. We might put that aside for a couple of years. So if you have some mad scientist pools and stuff that you want to go for, I think that's great. I'm in for that.
Yeah, I was thinking about bringing like my random sealed events back. I just didn't want to overlap too much with what was already going on. I was like, I want to do a Voyager pool event again and put some stuff together. And then I looked on the schedule and it was just like it was all Delta Quadrant stuff. It's like two different events, or there was like a Voyager a warp speed and a Voyager constructed on the schedule. I'm like, well, nobody's going to join mine at this point.
Yeah. No, so that yeah, but I think that's a great idea to do for next year. Certainly. And there's only after this month, after the CITIC draft, there's only one more return to Farpoint. We're doing virtual constructed for 2E. So I don't think I've played a virtual constructed event in like 10 years. So, I think the last time I played one, the VP cards were still legal.
Right.
in
Which made it
pool.
just regular constructed practically.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
the last time there was an event like that, not everything was printable,
Mm-hmm.
which was
Yeah.
why the VP cards were legal.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm. All right. So then, any
Sorry.
questions for Daniel?
Not a question, but I did want to piggyback on something you said. We have set up Dual Decks 4 lights in all the ways that we could think of to enable that to be a series of expansions. So there will very likely in the future be Dual Decks blank. We'll do more of them. So yeah, assuming these do at any level well. So if you want to see more, go play these.
If we go back to I'll just throw my hat in since we already discussed it. But if we go back and do Nemesis related dual decks, throw me on that team because I've already done half the work.
Yeah, I'm really looking right now for the next one to not have either Feds or Cardassians in it. Most of the obvious suggestions have a Fed in them, and that's just the nature of Star Trek. But it would be really nice to make some dual decks that don't for a while, and then get back to doing Feds.
Could do Klingon Civil War, Duras versus Gowron.
Yeah, that's been talked about a lot. That one would probably be Klingon Romulan versus Klingon Fed,
Yeah,
which is much more palatable. But
Hazon Vidian, maybe? I don't know.
there are a lot of ideas on the table, and there's a thread going on right now on the 1E forums soliciting even more ideas. So keep it up. But the most important thing is we need to see a good reaction to Dual Decks 4 lights to justify doing more of these. So
All right. Awesome. Thank you, everyone. So next is operations.
All right. So I thought we were segueing into organized play with all the organized play talk there. Let's see what has happened. Dan ran his grand finale as Raffle Master Extraordinaire. Whole lot of stuff went into prizes. And now we get to the hard part where we ship it all out to everyone. Not to say that the actual live stream and drawings weren't work. They were. What else? Over in Achievement Land, there's always every time you guys put one of those weird tournaments into the system where people are trying to do weird things with their decks, people are like, hey, why doesn't my my deck, qualify for that achievement. So Marcus is always fixing those in Rogue too, and that's been going on. What else? Programming. Marcus, I looked earlier. He's put in about 100 different code commits since our last board meeting the last board meeting I attended and spoke to it. So he's a busy person. What else? And I don't even think I could sum up what the code changes he was working on are. I mean, it looked like it touched everything. Individual card pages, individual cards, search results. He reorganized some database tables. The man is just constantly doing something, which is great.
The beast.
What else? I mean, we already talked about worlds. I have a bunch of video I need to edit to get put up onto the main YouTube channel for the CC. And I'll just say the reason it wasn't on the main one is I was in an entirely different country and I didn't want to go through the whole process of getting the authorization codes from whoever has access to them. So that was the shortcut. I just made a new channel and broadcast it there. So sorry if anyone was inconvenienced by that, but it meant we actually got to stream every time all day. So and Justin will attest to how big of a pain in the butt that was at Continentals. The access to the account is interesting. What else? Otherwise, just been making lots and lots of notes for our long-term plan stuff, which is another agenda item on today. So I won't go into too much detail on that. I think that's it for now, Maggie.
Okay, thank you, Brian. Any questions for Brian? All right, and then next is organized play. So Chris.
Yeah, obviously in the last 2 months, it's been kind of like the end of the fireworks, right? The end of the kind of organized play year. We had a ton of stuff. Obviously, we've already touched on Worlds, and again, congrats to Peter and to Michael Van Bremen on their newly minted World Championships. They both had won it before. We also had Canadian Nationals, we had Austrian Nationals, we had European Continentals, if I remember correctly. I think that was in that time frame. And South Dakota Masters, kind of a surprise Masters event. Out of nowhere, we heard, hey, you want to run a Masters? Sure, okay. Alongside that, online, we had the Chairs Challenge, which wrapped up with a whole lot of people playing Ferengi and me being a sociopath and not. We had some dojo gigs. And quick count this morning, local gigs over the last 2 months. I was really impressed. There were dozens across 9 states and 2 countries. I don't want to name them all off. It'll take way too much time. But if you're playing locally, that's our number one goal: get out and play. In fact, while we've been on this call, I'm trying to desperately figure out what I'm going to play at our local next week. So get out and play is obviously our number one goal. And big thing to look forward to coming up. We still have a couple nationals events. We've got British nationals, and TJ is going to be running German nationals online with John's help. So if you're interested in playing in being a German national, you can play TUI online, I think next month, if I recall correctly. And as Maggie said, we're also closing down Talos 4 and Return to Farpoint. She mentioned the Return to Farpoint is virtual construction. I think the Talos is the Rainbow Sealed. I think. I know that I'm registered for it. It's in a couple of weeks. So we've got, again, lots of stuff going on. I did have a question about leagues, and this year we've decided to just kind of put a pause on that. Leagues have declined significantly over the last few years, and we're down to just a couple off-season leagues that are actually running. So we're going to try to come up as a group and talk to obviously the board, but also the organized play team to see what we can do to kind of reinvent that for next year. So in place of that, John is going to be running some kind of extraordinary, different kind of playtest kind of almost events. Charlie, does that sound right for what he's doing for the 1E side? I know it's kind of like even number of turns and some other stuff just to get some data, since again it's the off season, it's not a high level tournament.
Yeah, so as part of the discussions we're having in post worlds, there's a number of different concepts that have been floated, and so John volunteered to run weird tournaments with 1E that have a different rules change or environment. And like you said, I think the first one is going to be if the first player wins on their turn, the second player has an option of taking a turn before the game is called. So if you're losing 100-3, you just don't bother. But if he gets to 100 and you're at 65 with one dilemma left under a mission, you can take your turn and possibly
earn a tie, right? I mean, that's how I think.
Go for a tie. Well, so that's just one thing we're exploring. There's no guarantee that's going to become a rule. That's a popular suggestion amongst the high-level players, but it does make tournaments longer. So that is a concern, and that's part of the reason why we're doing it, so we can see, well, how many times did it come up? How long did it make the tournament versus what it would have been?
Mm-hmm.
Doing it online is a little bit of a different situation, but we still want to get that data. So if you can play in those, and that'd be awesome. The more people who play, the more data we get. So thank you.
And I know that there's other talk about, behind the curtain a little bit of turn complexity and counting turns, right? How many turns is the game going? Are games going to 10 turns? Are they going over 10? I don't believe so, but are they even getting to 10? Is it never another really good question. So I think some of those tournaments, if you participate in them, you might be asked to take some notes, and especially if they're online, who cares? Like, you're not cheating. You're just, I played 5 turns and, John played 6 and 1. That's stuff that design and balance need to know.
Yeah, we are going to be collecting that data. So if you are playing games over the next couple months, keep track of how many turns you got and how long each turn was. And we're eventually going to set up a system to track that. I don't know if it's going to be a Google form or if it's going to be built into the tournament system like James Heaney wants to do. I don't know, but we're eventually going to figure that out, and then we're going to want all that data. So if you have the chance to keep records, please do.
Yeah, if any of my locals are watching this, please remind me next week, because I'll probably forget, but it's on my to-do list of things to do and pay attention to when we're playing next weekend.
We did it at our local last weekend, and it was not easy to remember to scratch for your turn, like if you're doing ticks or whatever, or turn the die, but you remember often enough where you go, I think it was 2 turns, so you go you just flip it over. But it is a different mindset to keep that in mind. So like I don't blame people who don't remember, because it's not easy.
Right. I'm going to try to do it with 20-siders, I think.
I would still appreciate, like, it was at least 5 turns, or it was at least 7 turns. That's still useful. The exact number is better, but anything is helpful. So
yeah, 7 or 8 is still more data than nothing. You don't know the exact number of turns. So that's kind of it for the organized play world. Like, obviously we are still soliciting lots and lots of hopeful bids for worlds. We kind of have a couple of ideas in place, but I don't know that we've formally decided. Obviously nothing's been announced yet. Daniel mentioned, Florida wants to run a Masters. I'm at that kind of point where I don't need a formal email or declaration that you're going to run something, email Michael and I and say, hey, I want to run Masters in October. Cool, done. You know, that's how quick and easy some of these things can be approved and supported. So mainly we just got to make sure we don't piss off the ops people and say, oh, we forgot to tell you there are 5 events in February, and make Brian have to pack up a bunch of crap. But you know, we're trying to avoid doing that.
Yeah, hey, there's a Masters this weekend in Omaha, and why didn't you send the kit? What?
I thought you were flying there. Is that my answer?
If we get a Masters in Omaha, that's awesome. So Omaha, Nebraska players, come on, let's get going.
Yeah.
Start a play group.
Wasn't that John? I feel like John Carter was the Omaha
At
player.
one point, yeah.
Centrally located.
I think he was in Lincoln because that's where the University of Nebraska is.
Sure.
Anyway, though, yeah, and Charlie, I think, had a really great idea that once we have all of the OP promos produced, like where we've got the pictures and stuff, which is very close to being done, we need to do a release show, like stream something live with the big announcement for where Worlds is going to be and what the promos are going to be for the whole year.
Yeah, it was my idea, so I've been drafted to coordinate it, unfortunately, but I'll get started on that, and we'll have more for that, more for you on that at our next meeting.
I don't know how widely anybody knows or if it's an open secret, and I'm not going to spoil now, but I will just say we are, for next year, breaking from the tradition of it being the year of X affiliation, right? Is that a fair statement? We can only say that, and that's all I'll say.
I would still say it's the year of something, but it's
the year of something, but not a year of an affiliation. Yeah, exactly.
I'm sure if you look at the spectrum of Star Trek lore, you can come up with a reasonable guess for what that theme might be, but we will tell you in a little bit.
Sure. When we get out the hype machine. I don't have anything else.
All right. Any other questions for Chris?
Yeah, that 1-8 turn thing for the player that goes first wins, and the second turn player gets 1 turn to see if they can bounce back and tie the opponent, because a lot of games were won by 1 turn by the first player. So that's cool if Charlie gets all the data and is looking at that.
All right, then Justin, go ahead and tell us about finances.
Still, we do have obviously the 2024 championship stuff to get ordered, hopefully by the end of this year, so we can get that all ready to go. But that'll be the only really main expense. We really haven't had much. I know we're probably going to have some shipping expenses, of course, with all of the raffle prizes. So hopefully Brian doesn't go too crazy, but I know that's going to be a pretty penny to ship all of that to all of the amazing people. So, but other than that, yeah, not much activity, which is always good. We don't really have that many expenses. Like I said, the website, as people have seen, the website costs about $100 a month. This Zoom call to be able to do all of our Zoom meetings, we're talking about $20 a month, and of course our stamps is about $20 a month as well. So not too bad. It's pretty low budget operation, which is awesome. Allows flexibility for projects and bring you guys stuff. So couple research projects on the side, quarterly updates with the community coming up here pretty soon. And yeah, it's always good when you can say there is no problems when it comes to the money. It's always good to hear that there's no problems. So yeah, that's good.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, Justin. Okay, so next thing on here is is the old business, and I've got the long-term plan for the continuing committee here, and I'm going to start this off with the chagrin, with a bit of chagrin and a confession, which is even though I have taken on the direction of this was my idea. I said, I will run this project. I have not gotten to do anything with it at all. Nothing. And and thinking about what this project needs, part of it I think is going to be market research, what can we do to bring in players? Because I know there's this active Facebook group that's not run by us. Bringing back old players, marketing to new people, those sort of like, plans for how we can do those sorts of things. That's a lot of stuff is not things that I have experience with. So one of the things that I want to do is put out a call for people to help me with those aspects of those aspects of building out this long-term plan. So that's where I'm sitting right now. And if you have done any of the work, I know Brian said he's been working on, ops long-term plan stuff, writing down notes and stuff, for which I am eternally grateful. But if any of you have things that you want to share, things that you've been working on, things that you think we need to do for this sort of planning, I'm open to suggestions, comments, anything like that.
I can tell you, like, I've been doing a lot of work on the one aspects of things. What I think we would benefit from, at least what I would benefit from, is guidance or a template of what we are looking for each department. Like, and then we need some way to figure out how we're gonna coordinate. Like I feel like there should be part of the plan that's how are 1E and 2E gonna avoid colliding with each other for attention, and how are 1E and OP going to work together like, it feels like there's multiple steps to this, and I'm working in a vacuum right now doing 1E stuff, which is important work and needs to be done, but I would like some guidance to move from that to the full long-term plan for the organization. So.
Right. And you are absolutely correct in wanting that sort of structure and guidance. And so that's part of what I need to be doing right now. And that's where what I want to be working on with this. Other thoughts on?
I feel like last time we talked about having some uncomfortable conversations about why people have quit playing. I know I've had a couple of those, and I've reported some of that back to my team. Yeah, I guess that's across the board, though. That's not just the board itself, that's the community. If you play at all and you have friends that have stopped playing, I joked to one of our players when I said to quote Bob Seger, "Come back, baby, rock and roll never forgets." And Trek is very much the same. Players that will disappear and be gone for a couple of years, and then you can easily bring them back with an OTSC, and they remember playing 1E from forever. Or with us locally, obviously the pandemic really crushed the charity draft, which I ran every year, and some of the people on this panel know, like, there are players who are gone, and they'll show up once a year to play in the charity draft, and that's important to then try to use that opportunity to re-engage. Sure, you might have limited success, but it's important to always try. And I don't think any harm in shooting a mass text that says, "Hey, we're running a local tournament," and send it to everybody that that ever played the game. And if half of them say, "Why am I on this text?" you say, "Because I want you to come back and play again." So it is not easy, but it's important to for everybody on this panel, for us to keep working, we have to have players playing the damn game, and that's number one thing. So I don't know if anybody else has had any of those hard talks, but I've had just a couple, and yeah, they were not fun, but it's important to do.
So yeah, maybe to echo to that, we have Trek CC accounts, and maybe we create a survey to send out to the emails of the accounts that have not logged into trekcc.org in 1, 2, 3, 5 years plus. Create a survey, asking them those tough questions in their email, and if they respond back to us, and provide the feedback like why they quit. "Oh, I quit because I had another baby, I had family issue, or the 1E or 2E was too competitive or too broken." That could be something that could help the long-term plan. The people that have stopped logging in, they check their email all the time.
I think we've done that before, haven't we?
we very rarely have used the mass mail capability because we sort of promised not to do it very often. But it is something we did it once for something that was changing. I forget, some big change that was happening. We sent a big email out to everybody.
Beginning of the pandemic, I think we sent out for the subspace series.
But there's just people want to, like, we could sit here and have a conversation about 50 different things that we could do. I think, and again, this isn't disrespect to you, Maggie, but we need some guidance on what we want to put together. Like, if we want to do a mass email, the question is, do we do one for each department? Do we do one big one? And typically mass emails don't get a great click-through rate. So is it worth doing that to get 1% of people to respond to us? I don't know. Those are good questions, but I think we could use some guidance and some dates to hit milestones. Part of the problem is, for me, like, it's not a problem, but I'm working on this, but then in 3 months, you all might vote me out and then somebody else has to do it. So, like, what's just that. And again, I'm not throwing shade at you, Maggie. You got 2 kids and a husband and a job, and we all have a million things we're trying to do. But it's like the paradox of the blank page. When you can do anything, it's intimidating and scary. And as soon as you put a mark on there, now it's taken a lot of those options away, and it makes it a lot less scary. So,
I mean,
right.
A lot of play groups, have lost players and they've lost contact and lost touch, and the only connection is Trek CC. And Frank and we had a player group of 20 plus players. We're down to like 5, and like I've lost their contact. So like sending out something, finding out why these people have stopped playing, could help us create a better long-term plan to bring people back and make it better again.
Oh, I've been thinking about a project sort of like that, just to do offhand, not as a formal thing, Justin, but just so you probably all know that I wish everybody happy birthday every day. Anybody who is a day its birthday's been, I look to see, have they been on the site in the last year? Because if somebody hasn't been on the site for the last year, or if they look like they're a bot or something, I won't wish them happy birthday. But starting in January, I'm gonna, besides wishing people happy birthday, I'm gonna start something that I'm calling the 2020 project, which is, I haven't seen this person post since 2020. Are they still okay? Who knows? Does anybody know this person? And then the next year, I'm going to do it as a 2021 project, because there's also people I've been noticing they haven't been in since 2021. So that's an informal project that I want to be doing. I just want to see, as a way to check in.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic and important. The birthday thing, people think that's a kind of would hand wave it. I think it's super important because it shows not only does Trek CC care, it shows the board cares, it shows all of us actually give a shit about people, like you said, and checking in to see. I mean, at the end of the day, we're all just effectively friends playing a game with little spaceships on it. So on your cards, that's what Matt Free used to call it. It's just a game with little spaceships. So I think it's really important. It sounds like, Maggie, though, your short-term plan is to talk and start thinking about the long-term plan. Is that a fair assessment?
Yes, that is a fair assessment. And that's probably going to be more likely to happen over Christmas break, because although a lot of the paperwork projects that go on at work right now, they assign us deadlines in the middle of the semester. Like, hey, it's midterm, by the way, you need to have all this paperwork in, chairs. I'm like, really, guys? Really? It's midterm? You're doing this now? All right, fine. So yeah, that's that's my short-term plan, is to give more structure to this long-term plan thing, as Charlie has requested, and rightfully so. needs that structure. So just got to think about, I've been thinking about, but don't have ideas for what the formally looks like. All right. Any other thoughts on the long-term plan? And again, thank you to all of you who have been working on that for yourselves, for your departments already. I really appreciate that. All right, new business. On here is the future of the raffle. So like people are still earning raffle tickets every tournament. Are we gonna continue to do the raffle, or do what? You know, I know part of this is to eventually replace the raffle with the rewards store whenever that is done. But what's that vision for the raffle? People really liked it. It was 2.5 hours of fun. It was a marathon for Dan. Oh my God.
In my notes for the long term, I wrote that we probably should at least commit to one per year, and if I have to run that, I'll run that. Because yeah, there was a lot of engagement with that. So, and that was everything from casual folks who I don't think I've ever seen their name in a tournament, to all the way up to the world champ was winning raffle stuff. So like, that is a broad spectrum of people that we can interact with this way. So it seems valuable just for that. If that's the only reason we continue to do it, just continuing to be in these folks' lives is a good reason. So I would say yes, we should keep a raffle, even with a reward store. I think we should continue to keep a raffle. So yes, that would be my plan.
Well, why don't we do something like the third weekend in October?
Yeah, I was thinking sometime after Worlds, right? Sometime after Worlds before Christmas.
And if you're really ambitious, you do it twice a year, March and October, 3 and 9.
If we pick a weekend and say it's going to be this weekend 99% of the time, then we know when we have to start hyping it. We know when we have to start promoting it. People know when it's going to be. And that way it's like part of the stress was always like scheduling the raffle. If we just pick a time and say, unless something weird comes up, this is when it's going to be, I think that'll do us all a lot of favors.
You mentioned too, the community involvement. I wasn't in the live drawing, but can anybody speak to how many people showed up for that? Was that a big group of people? Was it 2 or 3 people? I don't know.
There were a ton of people on the CC's Discord for that, and lots of people who joined the CC's Discord because that's where Dan was running the live draws, because he figured out a way to use Discord to do the live draw for door prizes. And so there were couple dozen people in the Discord just hanging out.
We went viral. Whenever we have more than 3, it's viral, right, Maggie?
Yes. Whenever there are more than 3, it's viral. I've got I think that means that my game with Neil yesterday is now officially viral.
I watched it this morning.
55 views.
I didn't watch it. The last game I watched was I watched the last 10 minutes of Maggie versus Jared. I know every time Chris is on, he's like, "Is Dan watching?"
I do point it out.
Yeah,
we got off track.
Yeah, we did get off track. Okay, anyway.
I unmuted because I wanted to talk to Brian about that, actually. Brian, I'm actually, if you need assistance with somebody running the raffles, I have no problem doing that. If that's what like just the actual events. I know that the big issue is getting everything gathered and shipped out, and that's not something I can assist with. So how often you want to run them is going to be more on you, but I have no problem assisting with the actual streaming of that. And in fact, I probably have a bunch of stuff I can donate to help out with that.
Okay.
So get with me on that, I guess.
Plus you're more personable than I am, so
I don't know about that.
Self-awareness is important.
Well, I mean, we can make it an event too, right? Where it's not just one person talking at the camera. Like you can have guests. We can do,
Sure, why not?
announcements. We can talk about the history of some of our items. Like there's a lot. We can make it a
Throw
production.
some spoilers out.
Yeah, I was
And
just going to say spoilers too. Say, oh, okay.
And actually, that killed two birds with one stone. You do it right out. You do it after Worlds, and so it could combine like a weekend event, like Charlie said, a weekend event where you also do the release of the next year's promos and a raffle.
No, don't. That's not that. We don't want to take the focus off of that. But it shouldn't be one event that does everything. Like
No.
make one event that does one thing.
Yeah. Well, I think raffle and
But you could have some little Easter eggs.
Yeah.
and if it was after Worlds, maybe you talk to the world champs if you can get them on, in
There's
between.
a lot of
polls.
options.
Yeah, for sure. I'm absolutely 100% on board. I would also help. I'm not personable enough to run it.
All right, awesome. Well, I'm glad that we're gonna continue doing the raffle. It is a lot of fun. If we stopped doing the raffle, the other thing that does for us is take away the biggest reason, one of the biggest reasons in my mind to get a premium membership. So besides the raffle, besides using the premium deck builder, which I think is the #1 reason for having a premium membership, the raffle tickets are very important, or getting extra raffle tickets is pretty important. That's as I understand it, that's why Ken Tufts has so many tickets, is because his premium membership will not expire till like 2050 by now. All right, so moving forward, next thing on the agenda is the period of review is nigh. That's all I wanted to say. The period of review, which is the time of year where our player base has the opportunity to ask questions of board members and vote on whether or not we should retain our seats, is coming up. So in December is usually when I try to put the forums up for people to ask questions for the board members, and then January is when we answer. This is all what I try to get done. Usually it's January 1st. I'm putting up the forums, and but you'll have a month to ask questions, a month for us to give our answers to your questions, and then February 1st through the 8th is the voting period for the period of review. So that is, we'll see. We've usually the last few years, we've gone with this company called Opa Vote, which has a funny name, but they do a really good job, and I really like their system, and they only cost $10. So that's what I've got for period of review. Any other comments about period of review?
Always, I think we should be open to changing things based on what the community wants. So if any of you out there have suggestions to how we can make it better, or I would love to hear them. We talked about last year changing the definition of member, so if somebody played in a tournament in the past year, they could vote even if they didn't have a premium membership. Did we ever do anything with that? I don't remember. Or am I making that up?
We talked about that. We did not change the bylaws, but that can certainly be something that I put on our in fact, I'm going to make a note.
I think every year we talk about it as it's happening, because that's when people remember it and say, hey, we should probably do something about that. And then as soon as period of review is over, everybody forgets.
Well, maybe now is the time we pull the trigger on that, soon. But we can resolve that after because we've been in a meeting for 75 minutes right now, so we should probably move on.
Yeah. So I've made a note on that in our board forum to investigate that change for the period of review. And then the last thing on the agenda is updating the moderation policies. And honestly, as Charlie's pointed out, we've been on this meeting for 75 minutes. I think this came out of me wanting to talk about the situation that happened right after Worlds, where where one member of the community who is not known for their positive or not known for their positive contributions to the community provoked another member of the community who is very well known for their positive contributions to the community to say some stuff that was not a good idea and get themselves banned for 6 months. And I think I think the board just generally was not happy with the outcome of that scenario, and wanted to work with the moderators on getting ideas out there for how can we make this situation not happen. What sort of steps can the moderation team take to so we can avoid these sorts of scenarios where where bullies win out, where they're not technically breaking the rules.
We have people who have weaponized the code of conduct. I think is the issue. And to be clear, we don't control the moderators, because if we did, they would have done something different. Like I don't want to say everybody was mad, but there were a lot of us that were like, please don't do this. And they're like, we're doing it. And we don't control them. The only thing we control is the bylaws. So we could change the bylaws to cancel the moderators or change them, but that's like the nuclear option, right? We don't tell them what to do, and they don't listen to us even if we try. So
right. And that is, and that is a feature of the system. It's not a bug, it's a feature, because the thing that we don't want is we don't want to be accused of favoritism in the moderation of the forums. So this is a really, really, really fine line to be walking for us to even be talking about it publicly. But it's so if folks out there who are watching this video have have some suggestions on how we might how we might talk with the moderators or update, do we have a way around this problem of the weaponization of the bylaws? We're open to ideas and suggestions.
Yeah, I think for purposes of this meeting, all we're saying is we're looking at it because there's been concern, and above all, we want to make the forums a safe place for everybody to come and enjoy Star Trek and talk. And as our experiences in the past have proven, we're not really fans of tolerating trolls who are going to drive people away from the community. And for better or worse, the moderation team is set up the way they are, and they are absolutely doing the best thing that they can do and doing their job to the letter. And I'm not at all casting shade there. It's just the question has come up internally into the board of, is this really what we wanted and how we want it to work? So for this purpose of this meeting, we're just letting the public know that we're talking about it internally and thinking about it. Is that a fair statement? There's nothing more that we can say right now. There's nothing's been decided.
That's pretty much what we can say and what we can do as part of our as part of our agreement with the moderation team and their independence of us.
And again, it's not an agreement, it's what the rules are. We do not control them. We haven't made a deal with them. We just because like I said, there were at least 4 board members that were like, what the hell are you doing? Please change it. And they don't have to listen to us. And in fact, they didn't. So
all right. So any other comments about that? I don't know if anybody's watching the live stream right now. Oh, here, I can see the chat now. I'm not Marcus, I don't know when this was. I see a question from Marcus with VP print changes, question mark. I don't know what time of what the timestamp was that and what we were talking about. So Marcus, I'm sorry, I'm not sure what your question was in the YouTube chat.
Might have
for
been
that.
asking about that tournament you guys are talking about, the virtual.
Oh, okay. Maybe, I don't know. But I haven't seen any questions on the Discord. I haven't seen any questions on the forum thread. So I'm going to go ahead and say we've moved through our agenda. Any other any other topics that have come up that we need to discuss?
I will move to adjourn.
All right. We get a second?
Second.
Seconds. All right. All opposed to adjourning? All right. Thank you, everyone, for taking time out of your day. And thank you to our viewers, current and future, who are out there. We appreciate you taking your time to watch this meeting and keep up to date with what we are doing at the continuing committee. So I'm going to go ahead and end